Okay, so the tools and hardware you're going to need for this upgrade are just a few. You're going to need these little screws to attach the modem itself to the board. You're going to need these lock washers. They're going to ensure that these screws stay locked in place. Going to add a little bit of security. This lock washer and this nut will go on the new upgraded PDN jack that we'll install, and these two jumpers will get placed in a specific location. I'll show you a little bit later. And the tools we'll need, pretty much our main tools will be just a couple of screwdrivers, this nut driver, and also this 5/32 nut driver that I've been using as a punch to punch this out. It'll make a very clean hole. Otherwise, you're just going to have to cut at it with an X-Acto knife. And I'm sorry, this is an 8mm nut driver. And you could pretty much get these screws with any small screwdriver here. And also, I would recommend some sort of electric tool to do this, just because it's faster. Obviously, you can do it without, but time is money. So you pop these apart. I'll be careful not to lose this guy. We got 3 screws that have a black washer on them that hold the board down. They're the only ones that have a black washer.
Okay.
Do not do this. I don't know who does this. That's not necessary. Okay, so you probably want to disconnect the credit card reader. Be careful. If you break any of these, they'll have to be soldered back on or it's not going to work. It's pretty delicate. Not a big problem. Okay, so we got the board out, and I'll show you guys the this PDN jack punch. Definitely, like I said, you want to wait and do this at the right time, and make sure, especially this isn't detached, because if there's 2 wires attached here,
right,
you're probably going to break something. So as long as you got it flat on the table, nothing's in there, I definitely feel like this is the best way to go about it. The little pop. And as you can see, very nice and clean. It's got a little bit of something in there. Could you hand me my X-Acto knife out of there? It's got some cardboard on the tip. But yeah, this is honestly hardly ever even see that much. So yeah. If you do it any other way, you're going to be clean stuff like this out for a minute. So that's
the PDN cutout.
So here we got the modem itself. They already come with these standoffs here these guys attached, which is nice. If they don't have that for whatever reason, I would not anticipate that they do, but if they don't, you'll need to install them. So it's kind of, this is going to be a place where you're really going to have to watch and make sure you get this lined up right, because yeah, you've got a structural, you know, anchor point here, but it's important that you mate this to this accurately, or obviously it's not going to work.
Oh, so there is on the board there's male pins and this is female on this side that you need to connect to. Okay.
And it's kind of hard to see, but
Snap should make sense.
And you know, a good indicator is that you can see the internal threads and the standoffs matching up on all of them.
Okay.
You'll know when you get it off. Like if you were to mate half those pins, because you could have it like that,
right,
and half the pins aren't mated, you won't. It'll look off. But sometimes it's hard to tell. So I only say that because it can get you.
Yeah.
So make sure that this PDN transition cable goes underneath the SIM card slots, and it wants to land on this side of these capacitors and this standoff. Right there. Okay. So we're putting the screws back in the back side, or I guess the front side, opposite side of the modem on the main board. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feels sturdy, feels good. Alright, so like I said before, at this point you want to make sure that you've got your lock washer and nut on the PDN jack. Get that in place, and make sure that this power button is in place. So we're about to close this up. And also the credit card reader. And maybe take a note to just make sure that none of the 5 connections here on this credit card reader got ripped out, because it's not hard to do, or anything here. Any one wire and it won't work. It's an easy fix, but it's harder to take it apart. So you want to grab this guy, kind of like that. You'll see how it's sort of molded in place. Slip that in here, and I usually take something like this and kind of hook that guy. And ideally it'll drop down just like that. Sometimes you'll notice it won't quite pop down so easily. You just kind of have to wiggle it till you get it. And sometimes if this side is not dropping down, the little peg that this power button mounts to just needs a little poke. I usually take a pick or something small and hit it, and it'll drop down usually pretty easily. Something like this. If you have that problem, that's the easiest way to go about fixing it, other than taking it out and putting it back in and taking it out and so on. Okay, so at this point we're ready to anchor the board back down. Got our screws, our 3 screws with black washers, and this is just the main anchor to the housing of the unit. One up here.
3?
Yes. good. So you should be mounted in, left with about 1.5 inch long little loop here, and this little tiny one right here is perfectly normal looking. That's about all you're gonna get. You're gonna have to put it in there like that because it usually will not sit flush otherwise. That's the best way to go about it. Okay, so we got that. PDN jack's on, everything looks good. I think we're gonna put it back together. I usually like to start with the power connection to the LCD first. Come in here and this is, you know, not necessarily specific, but I find this works for me. Pop that guy in, and then come in here, get the touch screen cable seated. It's important to get these two little tabs pressed down and lock this ribbon cable in, otherwise it might come loose. And of course our little window.
What is that?
This is the photovoltaic sensor. It's the light sensor window. It just keeps gunk out, lets light in. Yeah.
Okay.
It would still work without it, but it's part of the package. And the last thing is simple. We've got 2 jumpers, and these guys need to go right here and right here.
One more time.
Right here, across these two and these two. I'll stick them on so you can see. And without these, the new modem won't work. So this is fairly important.
Okay.
And that's it.
Well, that's SIM card.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, you're gonna want to come along and put the SIM card in this slot right here, not this one. Sorry, I didn't realize you had that.
It's the one on the, when you're looking at the modem, it needs to be in the right slot. So the one, I guess, closest, the one away from this loop, I guess, this side, because I've had it on this one, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And something important to note when you put a new SIM card in and you start it for the first time, start it up once and then restart it. Just let it boot to the splash screen at least. It'd be best to boot it all the way up and then restart it. Otherwise, the modem's not going to connect. So it'll just sit there and it'll flash the same thing over and over again. But yeah, so every time you do one of these, just start it up. Then shut it down, start it back up again. It'll be good. But yeah, if they're not connecting, that's why.
Okay, that's it.
All right.